Hello everybody and welcome. My name is Dr. Fahad Rahmanovich and today we're going to go over how to write a critique. So first things first, what exactly is a critique? A critique is a detailed and reasoned analysis of some particular idea or an argument, and it involves examining both strengths and weaknesses with the goal of improving understanding or suggesting areas for refinement. So in order to do a critique, you need to focus on a point where there is a problem in an argument that needs fixing, or a point that can be strengthened, or a point where additional nuance would add clarification. So how do we do this? Well, first, you're going to pick an idea of interest to you. Second, you're going to clarify what it is that the author says and make sure that you understand exactly what they're saying. And finally, you are going to offer a critique. Now, clarification is crucial because clarification ensures that you and the audience understand exactly what the issue is. And if you mess up this step, your critique might be great, but you're not critiquing the argument that you initially presented. You are critiquing something else. We usually call this a straw man argument. So the fact that you hit a target is all well and good, but unless you hit the right target, the shot is irrelevant. So one of the ways of doing this is to always assume that the author you're reading knows something that you don't, and then take your time to fully understand them. So let's work this out in a visual way. The author is giving you some sort of an idea, that's our star, and you, the audience, are down here. And the question is, how exactly are you going to make your way up to their idea? What exactly is the path? This is where clarification comes in. With clarification, you will identify step by step how it is that the author made their way from the ground level up to their conclusion. Now, if the author did their job well, all the steps are clearly visible and you can follow them along to the conclusion. But if the author didn't do a good job, or if you don't do a good job clarifying their position, then we end up with something missing. And suddenly the path to that conclusion is no longer available. You pick an idea, you clarify the idea, and then you're going to offer a critique. So how exactly do we do the critique portion? Well, as noted, we have three ways of doing it. Step one is to find a problem. So you go forth with your pickaxe of truth and you hit things in the argument until they break. You subject them to all sorts of testing and thought experiments. And if you can find a weak point, that might remove an entire step. And as noted, once a step goes missing, then the path to their conclusion itself is gone. Or you might decide to strengthen the argument. So you might build in additional steps to make sure that the path to the conclusion is even easier to find. Or you might want to introduce some nuance, in which case we are examining the argument, we agree with the argument, but we want to make some additions to the argument to make sure that it covers all possibilities. As you write a critique, you're simply going to write these three steps out in this particular order. In your opening paragraph, you're going to tell us about the idea. In the subsequent paragraphs, you're going to clarify the idea. And finally, you're going to offer your critique, which will either be for the argument, against the argument, or adding nuance to the argument. Couple of details to note. Use paragraphs. Walls of text, when submitted as a paper, are incredibly difficult to deal with because there is no visual way to break up the flow of information, and therefore it makes it a lot more difficult to actually read through. Next, keep your language academic. That means you have to keep a professional distance from the subject. Even if it's something you're very passionate about, you don't want your passion bleeding through, not on a critique. And also avoid self-reference. Do not say I, me, or my, because you should not be in the picture. We're interested in the idea. We're not interested in you or the other author per se. Finally, use proper citations. What that means will depend on the class that you might be taking or the field that you're working in, so check your requirements. but generally speaking, you will need in-text citations. So anytime you say something that is not absolutely common knowledge, you have to tell everybody where you got the information from. And then you are also going to need a works cited page. This is a separate page at the end of your paper that lists all of your sources in one spot. Now, armed with that, you should have absolutely no problem completing any sort of a critique that you are assigned to do. And again, it's fairly straightforward. Find an idea that either needs fixing, that can be strengthened, or where nuance would add some meaningful clarification. Make sure that you've understood the idea, and then go forth and offer that critique. That's it for today. If you have questions or comments, please reach out.